is in the center of the eye, not the leading edge, the center of the eye crosses land. And wherever that occurs, that is where we have landfall. So, in terms of the current conditions, it's all about the rain, not the surge. Although we are getting a lot of reports of surge in Naples, we're getting a lot of reports of surge in Fort Myers. It's starting south, and it will work north, and it will do so over the next few hours. But we have flash flood warnings for Pasco and Pinellas County until 6:45. Yeah, it has just been raining crazy for the last 5 or 6 hours. And we'll show you some of those numbers in a minute. But overall, we're talking about significant flooding because of rain. Nothing to do with surge. That will come later. This is a 3-part event, if you will. First, we've had the rain, all right? Then we have the wind that comes on shore. And then lastly, unfortunately, the largest event will be the surge. Here are the rainfall totals that I talked about. This is in the last 24 hours, but honestly, it's probably like in the last 7 or 8 hours. We had nearly 9 inches of rain in southern Pinellas County. It had, most of Pinellas has seen between 6 and 9 inches of rain. Most of western Hernando County, or rather Manatee County, has had 7 to 8 inches of rain. Sarasota has had 7.5 inches of rain. Pasco County, lower with purple colors, but still, it's coming down in the inland areas. So we've still got all of that rain coming in with the storm itself. There it is. That is all going to move on shore. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that some areas are going to pick up 18 inches of rain before this moves on through. And when I say some areas, probably Pinellas County getting a lot of the heaviest rain. What about the wind? The wind will be strongest right around the eye, north and east of where that eye crosses. There's going to be a small area of wind that we likely will see an extreme wind warning. Well, what does that mean? I remember we had one in Irma in Polk County, Bartow, about 12:30 at night. It lasted for about an hour. And we had one of our reporters actually in a bunker, I remember they were saying, and they could not even open the door because the wind was blowing so hard. It's a very small area, but it's an area that will bring incredibly high winds, 115 miles an hour or greater. Now, the storm is weakening. We have winds of 120. It is a possibility that when this makes landfall, it's Cat 2. That, while it's just a number, there is a monstrous difference in terms of damage from 110 to 140 or 145. Just a massive amount of difference. So if we can continue to see weakening up for the next few hours, there's a legitimate chance we could be looking at a Cat 2 hurricane or a very minimal Cat 3 event. So that would be tremendous. Unfortunately, that has nothing to do with the surge. Here are the current wind gusts. We have hurricane-force wind gusts right now in Venice, 74-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We have 61-mile-an-hour wind gusts in St. Pete. We are not seeing sustained hurricane-force winds yet. What does that mean? What's a sustained versus a gust? Sustained is 60 seconds steady of wind. We just got out of that extreme wind alert?
Yeah.
Yeah, figured. So what is it? Extreme wind warning. Yeah, okay, let's go back. I'm going to move back here, and let's just go back and see if it pops up. Actually, I think we actually have to add that to the power. Okay, so you already did. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you can go ahead and zoom into it. So, yeah, this is what we were talking about. You know, we knew it was going to come. We were literally just talking about it. Extreme wind warning is winds of 115 miles an hour. So the Weather Service has issued the extreme wind warning through 9:30. Now, let me say, this is different from a tornado warning. A tornado warning means it's happening right then. Right? You see a tornado. Clearly, what we have here is what they believe. And by the way, so it shows the entire area as part of the extreme wind warning. It will not be the entire area. It will be a section of that area as that wind comes through. This is as landfall occurs. And this is what this storm is going to do. Remember, hurricane force winds only extend 35 miles out. So it's a rather small wind field in hurricane winds. And of those 35, I would say 80% are probably 70 to 75 mile an hour, 70, 80 mile an hour winds. They're on the low side of the state. right at the eye and on the right side of it when it comes ashore, wherever. And the reason there's still a large area here, well, one of the reasons is because there's such a massive area of squally weather in the northern island. There's not 150-mile-an-hour winds there, but there certainly are very, very strong winds that could go 90 to 100. So what I think we'll end up seeing, and Jason, you can follow up on this as well. I think what we're going to end up seeing is a rather small area. This is a number we've been throwing around 3 or 4 days, but a 5 to 7 mile area of extreme winds. We've been describing it that for days, and now we have an extreme wind warning. So that's usually how this plays out with a situation like this. So overall, if you look at the wind field, you're going to say, well, it's not that bad. But in a small area, it's going to be. And for lack of a better description, you can liken it to maybe a 5 mile wide EF1 tornado. I know that's kind of a scary thought, obviously.
Yeah, thanks.
But this is about the most severe warning that you will get in our area. Would you not agree with that? An extreme wind warning for the short-term forecast, I would say, is the most extreme or the highest or the most severe weather phenomenon we get.
Oh, guys, thanks for checking in. I'm just going to leave this up so you guys can see what's going on here in Orlando. It was raining super hard a minute ago. The streets are flooded. I'm in downtown Orlando. This is what's going on. But I'm here, so a lot of my neighbors are over, and we're having dinner, so I'll check in later.
Near the
So
eye,
much you guys
where we're
watch.
already getting reports of sustained of 120 miles an hour. So Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, so we're looking at what they're saying in their discussion with this warning. At 6:35, National Weather Service Doppler radar indicated extreme winds associated with the eye wall of Hurricane Milton moving onshore along the line extending from South Bradenton to southwest of Anna Maria, about 52 miles south of there to St. Armand Circle. So we're talking about specifically right now Manatee and Sarasota counties as the western or eastern eye wall is beginning to move closer and closer to these areas. Something that we've been talking about for days now is that the northern eye wall, clearly why Pinellas and Hillsborough County was put in this, is holding a lot of extreme winds. I'm going to get this back over to Dennis here in just a second, but I do want to
Woo, short alley.
This is what, oh, if you can step off the camera for just a second, then I'll let you start to control it again. There we go. So this is what we're looking at here, and this is basically what the direction the wind is moving. So it's kind of sloppy colors, but this tells us a bunch of things. So where the eye wall is about to move onshore, radar's picking up 114 mile per hour winds, but that's several thousand feet up. Down to the surface, maybe 100, maybe 90, like Dennis was saying. The northern eye wall, though, which is not where the landfall will be, this is what's going to be moving into Pinellas, Manatee, Hillsborough County, has winds that are even higher than that. We're querying it at 116 miles per hour. I've seen it as high as 124 miles per hour. So 110, 115, 120. When you extrapolate that down to the surface, where of course we are, you can lower these winds by about 20 miles per hour from what you're seeing here. So clearly the eye wall is showing that winds that could be potentially up to 100, 115 miles per hour. We'll get the 7 o'clock advisory in from the National Hurricane Center here soon with an update on what the winds currently are. But there you can see it, that query just popped up 128. So Dennis, down surface-wise, that would run roughly 110 to 115. So that's what they're looking at now. Sarasota initially, Manatee County over the next hour, and then that continuing north up to Pinellas and Hillsborough County too.
And you know, you can make the argument, once this goes through, that's the worst of this storm.
Yeah.
I mean, that will be it in terms of the wind. But then we go to the next phase, which is the surge. So if you're just tuning in, where you been? Extreme wind warning till 9:30. As Jason just said, showed it perfectly. Winds already offshore of 100 to 110 miles an hour. And they will be moving onshore as Milton also moves onshore. So the eye, very ragged. South of the eye, there's no weather going on. I mean, there's some wind, but we've been saying for days, if you live in Hardee County and this passes through, you might very well see stars and you're not even in the eye, you're in the southern flank. And by the way, a lot of the Bay Area is going to be in the eye of this. And that is quite an experience where you go from the eye wall, where you have very, very heavy winds, and within a matter of a minute or two, the winds go calm, and you're in the eye. And very often, not saying to do this, but very often people run outside to see what it's like to be in the eye of a hurricane. Again, I'm not saying to do that, because what happens is on the other side, although that being said, the other side will be much weaker because this is literally being cut in half. As Jason was talking about, it's quickly turning into what would be called a hybrid or a subtropical system. It doesn't have the look or characteristics of a tropical system, which is a warm core system, as opposed to a winter storm, a nor'easter, right? And a nor'easter, think about it, a nor'easter has winds that expand out much, much farther. The winds 150 miles with a nor'easter are every bit as strong as the winds near the surface. It's more uniform. Hurricane, most of the winds are right near the surface, right there, right there. But in this one, it's a little different, where we've got that really solid band of wind and rain in the northern eye wall. And while that is not the eye, and how many miles, Jason? Maybe 20 miles from the eye wall, that northern band, something like that? Yeah. So, I mean, maybe 20 miles to the north, you're going to have winds every bit as strong, if not stronger, than right at the eye wall. And I can't say that I can ever remember that happening before. I mean, it's a very, very unique situation. So, there it is. Landfall occurring in the next few hours. When landfall occurs is when you will have this extreme wind. So let me be clear about something, guys, all right? And we're going to treat this almost like a tornado warning, because in a sense it is, right? You are if you live in Pinellas County, especially the southern half, but we'll pinpoint it as it gets closer. If you live in Hillsborough County, if you live in Manatee and Sarasota, you are going to have an area of winds that are equivalent to an EF1 tornado come through. The difference with this is it's going to last longer than an EF1 tornado might last 30 seconds. This could last significantly longer. So when you get to that point, you want to get away from your windows. If you have them boarded up, it's okay. But if you don't have your windows boarded up, you want to be in an interior part of your home. You want to be on the lowest floor. And if it gets bad enough, you'll go just like in a tornado in a closet or in a bathroom. I mean, we're not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because the reality of an extreme wind warning is about as strong as it gets, certainly with a tropical storm or a hurricane. So there again, we have a hurricane warning remain in effect. No changes there. Current wind gusts anywhere from 66 in St. Pete, 62 in Venice. These are the current wind gusts. It was 74 just a few minutes ago in Venice with hurricane force gusts. Storm surge, there's the third facet. And the one that is the most destructive. I mean, 110 mile an hour winds are going to cause some problems. You're going to have trees down. I'll be very transparent with you. I had my family leave from my home in Palm Harbor, not because I was afraid of structural damage from the winds, but because there's a lot of trees around. And there's nothing you can do. When you get 10 inches of rain, and then all of a sudden you have a ton of wind coming as well, there's going to be some trees down. Tomorrow we will wake up and look around and there will be some trees down, maybe a lot of trees down across the area. There's going to be a lot of blue tarps on roofs coming up over the next several weeks, if not the next several months. So the wind is the biggest issue if you don't live on the water, and I don't live on the water. But if you do, it's the surge. Not only is it catastrophic, as we saw with Helene, but it's deadly, unfortunately, as we saw with Helene as well. So our hope is people who evacuated, everyone evacuated. We know they didn't, but we hope the majority of the people did evacuate. But a little good news in sense of the overall surge total. If you remember the last 3 or 4 days, the Hurricane Center was locked in with a 10 to 15 foot surge in the bay. It kind of heard us saying, especially on DPL, heard us saying, yeah, that's the worst case scenario. And you can't have a worst case scenario with a hurricane if it's going to make landfall here, up here, because there'll be offshore winds there. So it wasn't going to happen. The worst of the surge will be wherever landfall occurs and to the south. And because landfall is going to occur really close to northwestern Manatee in that general ballpark, the bay is on the fringe, really on the fringe of the worst surge. So the Hurricane Center actually dropped down their surge forecast a little while ago from 10 to 15 feet to 6 to 9. Similar numbers to Helene. Sarasota, 9 to 13. That includes Siesta Key, that includes areas down in South Fort Myers, 8 to 12. And they're already getting surge in the Fort Myers area. So winds of 120 miles an hour, the new numbers will come out shortly. You know, the pressure really hasn't moved much. We will see if there's any additional weakening, whether it's 115, 110, it's just kind of a categorization thing. If it stays 111 or above, then we know we had a major hurricane hit. And I suspect it probably will. But our biggest threat right now is that extreme wind warning now, in the next 2 hours, surge, then the next 4 to 6 hours, and power outages. Now, I'll say this one more time, I actually haven't said it yet today. Every hurricane season, we hear a tragic story about someone who uses a generator in their home and their family dies of carbon monoxide poisoning. It happened in Polk County with Irma. Family of 4 died. A lot of people bought generators seeing this storm was coming and they've never had one before. You run to Home Depot, you get the box, you're like, yes, I got a generator. You bring it home and you don't have a clue on how to use it. By the way, YouTube videos are really helpful. I'm going to be honest, I have a generator and I couldn't figure out today why the heck wasn't it turning on. It was driving me crazy because I haven't used it in a well. There was a little valve you had to turn on to let the gas go in, and I forgot to do it. So my point was, I went on YouTube video, I looked, the generator shows it. So if you had never used it and you just have it out of the box and you're waiting to turn it on to get it cranking if you lose power, that would be a bad idea to check that out. And never, ever use that generator in your home, in your garage, or anywhere where the fumes can have direct access to the home. So again, new numbers will come out shortly. The track, and that's about it. We've been saying for hours now, you throw the models out the window, you look out the window, it's now casting. You're watching every wobble, you're watching every wobble, we're watching every wobble. I'll be honest, Jason and Greg and I, we see a wobble, I'm like, oh man, is that east or is that north? And that's what it is, because there's no data. You're just watching it. But in the next 2 to 3 hours, landfall will occur, and when it does, it's going to pack a serious punch with wind across areas from Pinellas, Hillsborough, Manatee, and Sarasota. You got something, Jason?
No, just looking at some of the new numbers coming in. 65-mile-per-hour gusts in St. Pete. These numbers, though, 77 miles per hour in Sarasota. These are the highest that we have now. And unfortunately, when you start to get to the eye of a hurricane, you start to lose a lot of the observation sites. So the hope is that we'll be able to still continue to relay those high gusts as we start to get them. But sometimes these strong 100-mile-per-hour winds could knock out our observation guides. I did see the National Weather Service is not going to add Sarasota County into the extreme wind warning because the strongest part of these winds, like we were talking about a second ago, are associated here on the northern side of the eye wall. So we're looking at also some surge values picking up. Naples is now seeing major flooding. So the surge is picking up south, and it's probably going to start picking up here along our coast, especially Manatee, Sarasota counties, maybe perhaps even in the Southern Bay as well. But yeah, right now we're seeing those winds really begin to crank up, with the strongest being at about 77 to 74. Venice is updated now to 74 miles per hour. Brooksville, also 66 miles per hour. So even our northern spots are beginning to see these strong tropical storm force winds with gusts now approaching hurricane force. And looking at some of the current gusts, I think you did show this one, Dennis, but yeah, it did show earlier that we had some 70-mile-per-hour gusts. Looks like now we're all in the ballpark of very strong tropical storm force winds. And that extreme wind warning, like I mentioned a second ago, it looks like they are not going to extend it south into Sarasota County. So if there is any good news, it would be for those of you in Sarasota County right now, where it looks like this goes right to the Manatee-Sarasota County line, but they're not going, the National Weather Service is not going to extend it a little farther south. And we were just showing you this a second ago, but if you did miss it, let me turn off the warnings here on this map and show you what we're looking at as far as the potential for these winds, how strong the winds are inside this eye wall. So turning the warnings off, I'm going to switch it back over here to our velocity mode. So we're going to turn off the rain. We're going to look at what direction the raindrops are moving in the wind mode to see exactly what we're looking at as far as how strong these winds are. And we're looking at sustained winds of a couple thousand feet up. So not what we would see here at the ground level, over 100 miles per hour. Some as high as 124 to 125 miles per hour. So when you're looking at this and you're saying, well, why isn't Sarasota being included if the eye could potentially move on shore here? It's because, again, the northern eye wall is where we're seeing the strongest part of the winds, and with a northeasterly movement on shore here over the next 2 hours, that's going to take the northern eye wall into St. Pete, into potentially Tampa, and also through southern Hillsborough County into Bradenton, and also places east of there over toward Lakewood Ranch along 64 and 70. So that's what we're looking at right now. So that's the wind mode. There's clearly where the center of the eye is. Out ahead of it, these winds in these blue and purple shades are showing up at about 70 to 100 miles per hour. So we're still going to get some pretty strong winds, but the more concentrated and more likely areas that will continue to pile up these 100+ mile per hour wind gusts are going to be within this northern band. So let me stop the radar. We'll do a little query tool and look inside and see exactly where the strongest winds are. Where you see the orangish brown colors, those are starting to move into Egmont Channel and also here through Anna Maria Island and Fort DeSoto, getting basically into the mouth of Tampa Bay. So looking at some of these numbers here in these darker shades of brown, we're looking at 100 miles per hour. Again, this is about 1,000, 2,000 feet up, so take about 10 miles per hour off of that. We've got 90 mile per hour gusts here at the surface. We're looking at offshore gusts still at 105. We had 129 miles per hour showing up earlier. There's 113, and here is 107. So again, if you take that, that's at upper about 1,000, 2,000 feet. You put that down here at the surface, you're going to lower those numbers by about 10 miles per hour, and we're easily also looking at 90 to 100, if not 100+ mile per hour gusts within this band as it's moving onshore. And again, as far as the direction of movement with this, we're talking about it moving more to the east-northeast, which would affect, of course, where they put that extreme wind warning, which is Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Manatee County. So there's the band. Notice the northern side of this band now creeping into southern Pinellas County, and we're going to continue to see this shifting east-northeast. So basically along the I-4 corridor and to the south is where we're likely going to see this band pushing those winds over 100. One of my friends in Carrollwood already texted me up toward Lake Magdalene saying the winds are crazy out there already. They can't imagine what it's going to be like when the eye wall starts to move onshore and closer to them. So again, we're locked in with this northern eye wall, which is actually being a little more of a worse part of the storm than what the actual landfall location will be. And based on the last couple of trends, it looks like it's made a little bit of a wobble, right? We don't want to put too much stock into it, but if this trend continues, the landfall, the center, could be here in Sarasota County, but the strongest winds associated with it may not be directly around that eye wall. It's in the northern part, and that's why the National Weather Service issued that high wind warning or extreme wind warning here for Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Manatee County. So again, we're watching this very closely for you as far as this goes until 9:30 tonight. We could see it extended inland. Of course, the storm will begin to weaken quite a bit once it gets out of the Gulf of Mexico, but heads up for you in Lakeland, heads up for you in Hardee counties, because you all could see an extension of this to the east as we see this northern eye wall continue to move to the east over the next couple of hours. Anything else? Okay. So yeah, we're continuing to watch that for you here as it shifts off to the east. The good news, though, I haven't seen any spin with this as far as any tornado risks go. It's one thing to worry about 100 mile per hour winds. It's another thing when you have to throw in a mix of those stronger winds. So yeah, we're going to continue to watch this for you. Also watching where that rain sets up the heaviest. We've seen anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of rain already. Got another 6 to 8 inches to go before we see this winding down. The bullseye showing up here for Citrus and Hernando County. So while you all are well removed from the eye, moving into Sarasota and Manatee counties in southern Pinellas and Hillsborough, the extreme rain rates are going to be here from I-4 north. So strongest winds along and south of I-4, extreme rain rates north of I-4 along and north. And this is where we could see some totals exceeding a foot, maybe even getting up to around 1.5 feet of rainfall. So that's where we're at right now with this. We're going to really have to pay attention closely to this extreme wind warning to see if we start getting some of these observations coming in over the next couple of hours. Greg, have you seen anything?
I was just talking to Dennis. He doesn't remember what's happening.
Correct. So I did talk to my National Weather Service friend, and this would be the first time Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Manatee counties have been put under an extreme wind warning. They started this, about 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So it's not something that's been around for hundreds of years. But yeah, it's the first time that we have seen this here in Pinellas, Manatee, and Hillsborough County. Sarasota County, your first time being in one was when Hurricane Ian rolled through, and you guys were in the northern eye wall at that point. So a very similar situation here with the northern eye wall being obviously north of the eye of the center, and we're seeing the worst of the winds and the extreme winds here potentially versus it being around the actual eye itself. So let me turn the flash flood warnings off. We are going to continue to watch this for you as we go over the next hour to hour and a half. Again, this is basically being treated as a tornado warning. What we do during tornado warnings, if they are threatening a major metro area, is we would cover it until the threat passes. And that's what we're going to have to do right here, because again, you may not see another extreme wind warning for another decade, 2 decades. Hopefully we don't have another one for another 100 years, right? But this is very, very serious, and this is where the power outages are going to start to come into play. So make sure, like Dennis said, you've got your cell phone charged, you've got our ABC Action News app downloaded to your phone, because that will continue to allow you to see our coverage should you lose power, and of course you're unable to watch us on TV anymore. But this is the bad part. This is the part that we were hoping would nudge south, nudge north, just something to get it out of our beautiful Tampa Bay area. And unfortunately, it's coming right into Tampa Bay. This will definitely go down as one of the strongest hurricanes on record for our area, and clearly the strongest we've had in about 103, 104 years since the 1921 Tarpon Springs hurricane. So there's a warning again. I do want to remove that warning because I really want to focus in here now on some of these bands coming on shore. Clearly, you can see the eye. And the outer eye wall, there were 2 eye walls if you were with us earlier today. Those have already moved into Manatee and Sarasota counties. That's why we're seeing more gusts showing up at 70 miles per hour plus 80 miles per hour, getting closer and closer to that. MacDill Air Force Base, we just gusted to 60 miles per hour. Brooksville, 66. Even in Winter Haven, far east of the center, we have a wind gust to 58 miles per hour. We're at 60 down toward Fort Myers. St. Pete, another gust to 66. And we're looking at, let's see, Venice gusting to 62 within the last hour or so. So again, extreme strong winds coming in, but the strongest are going to be right around the core of the eye. So in Sarasota County, you may be the landfall point when you're looking at the center, again, the center of the eye where it comes on shore is the landfall point. This could be Siesta Key, it could be Turtle Beach, Osprey, maybe Venice, or it could be as far north as Lido Key, maybe even the southern part of Longboat Key, depending on how much to the north and east. And yes, there are extreme winds in this as well, but where the strongest winds are within this band here. So let's focus in now on Tampa and St. Pete. Look at the red colors over top of us, guys. This is 4 to 6 inch rainfall rates per hour. On top of the fact that we have the chance for 100 plus mile per hour winds to move in within this band. Notice it's not moving at all. This is a stationary band as the eye is beginning to move closer and closer on shore. So we are literally covered up from north to south in Pinellas County, whether you are in Palm Harbor, whether you're in Tarpon Springs, down through Dunedin, Clearwater Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, Bel Air Shores, down to Madeira Beach and Treasure Island, Johns Pass, south of Pasadena. We are covered up right now in the worst of the storm, and the winds are just beginning to pick back up. We are looking at Tampa being basically in the same thing. We are not in the strongest part of the northern eye wall just yet here in the city of Tampa, but our extreme rainfall rates continue here as well. New flash flood warnings have been issued. Again, when we talk about how much we've seen so far, 6 to 8 inches of rainfall is where we're at this point. Widening out the picture, Lakeland, you guys are back into the heavier rain. And again, I want you to be prepared for those of you in Polk County, because that extreme wind warning may be extended farther east within the next hour to hour and a half as this comes on shore, because you will be in the northern eye wall here as well, especially south of I-4. So places like Bartow, Medulla, down toward Fort Meade. This is where along 17, we're going to likely potentially see this warning extended a bit farther east. In Manatee County, you are no longer now in the eye wall. It's shifted north, but look to your west. This part of the eye wall, the northwestern part of the eye wall, is ever so slowly creeping closer and closer to Anna Maria and Longboat. This is going to be the worst part of the eye wall for you all as well. Again, in the northwestern eye wall, this is where we're looking at the strongest winds at this point, and they're picking up to around 100 plus miles per hour. So ladies, this is what we've got right now. Extreme wind warning until 9:30. Dennis is here. We're going to take a quick break, send it over to you guys. And what's the very latest that you had as far as power outages go? Because I know they've got to be starting to creep up now.
Yeah, Jason, Wendy and I have been looking at FPL, Duke, and TECO, and I do want to start with TECO seeing nearly 45,000 power outages at this point. FPL still hovering around that 8,000 in Manatee County.
Right, and Duke Energy now at 51,000, most in Pinellas County. So obviously there's a big issue there, and it's only going to get worse, as we know, because the winds are going to pick up. More power outages will be across the Bay Area. And almost immediately after we heard our phones ring for that alarm, for that extreme wind warning, we started getting notifications from several counties that first responders are now being pulled from the road for their own safety, including Sarasota, Clearwater Police and Fire, Pinellas County, the city of St. Pete, and Pasco County. They say they just can no longer respond west of the Suncoast Parkway for their own safety. And here's an important reminder. We want you to be able to reach us 24/7 during and after Hurricane Milton. Just scan that QR code on your screen to download our apps. And this way you can stay connected to us even if you lose your power or signal, and watch us on your phone. And please charge your phone right now before you lose your power.
Truly, if you're one of the lucky ones who still has power at this point.
Yes.
So to download our apps, take out your cell phone and go to your app store, search ABC Action News, click on the download, and once you're in the ABC Action News app, you'll see our live feed at the top of the homepage. It's exactly what we're showing right now, so you can still watch us there on your phone. Now, Pinellas County within the last 15 minutes put out a shelter-in-place warning, and our team coverage of Hurricane Milton continues now in Pinellas County.
Yeah, that's right. Our ABC Action News reporter Eric Waxler is in downtown St. Pete with the very latest out there. Eric, wow, the wind I can see is picking up because your camera can't even keep you in focus. There you are. You okay out there?
Hey there. Yeah, we're doing fine. The rain covering on the camera sometimes is going to definitely blow up as the wind blows up around us. So we are here just off of Central Avenue in downtown St. Petersburg. The weather has obviously deteriorated over the last couple hours. We are seeing the strongest gusts so far. You can see it. We are under some cover here at the True by Hilton Hotel. Let's take a quick look inside here. Let's see. You can see it. There are people that have been in here most of the day, making friends. You have family gathering together, eating, playing pool, playing chess, doing the best they can to make the best of a terrible situation. But better for them to be inside than out here, because as we continue to look, this is not a time you want to be outside. You can, as we look there on 17th Street, just look at the wind taking those trees. Already one tree went down. Thankfully, we are not seeing people drive around anymore, because for the last couple hours, there were still people out on the street. You can really feel these wind gusts going right now. Within the last few minutes, the city of St. Petersburg, as expected, shut down water to many parts of the city because they said the sewer system obviously overrun with the stormwater surge and the threat of that, so they have shut that down. So it might not be a good idea to try and use the toilet at this point. Your plumbing might not work, but it is expected. And depending on how things go tonight, it could be more than 24 hours before it is put back on. So that is something that could be one of the many inconveniences to come. And you see these are a couple apartment buildings here on Central Avenue. We've seen people actually watching ABC Action News, because when we go live, we can hear them screaming at us, saying hello, as everybody just waits to see what this storm will do to St. Petersburg, an area that was ravaged, like so many others, by the storm surge for Hurricane Helene. And now, if the storm surge is even more than Helene, you just don't even want to think about the possibilities. People already lost everything. And we've been keeping track of Jack Skellington, the Halloween decoration from the Nightmare Before Christmas. He is still flying up there. So we keep saying that as long as he's still up there, maybe we're okay. But everyone here just waiting the best they can to get through this storm. But we are definitely seeing the effects here as the eye wall gets closer just south of us in that Bradenton area. But we're definitely feeling it here in downtown St. Pete. Live in downtown St. Pete, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
Eric, thank you. You just said waiting game, and I feel like that's what we've all been dealing with the past really few days.
Yeah, 100%. And really, especially the last 24 hours, it's like, there's no relief that we're seeing the eye get closer and closer either. It is the waiting game, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, and we do want to go now to our ABC Action News anchor, Paul LeGrone. He's in the Bradenton area.
That's right. So, Paul, have the winds picked up since the last time we saw you?
Yeah, absolutely. They're picking up pretty strong here. I haven't measured it, but it's definitely 70 plus. And we actually saw some sparks. I believe the power lines were sparking over in this direction. The clouds are moving really fast above us right now, and the trees are taking a beating. The power lines are really starting to wane. And we saw some sparks coming from a couple of homes down there, and the power is flickering on and off. I want to take you across the street, all right? Because I want to check in with our good folks, Gigi and Carl. They're the best from Boston. Love that town. They're here in Bradenton, where we are right now, in the area called Palma Vista, a few miles north of IMG Academy, a few miles south of Manatee River. I'm going to ring their doorbell. They know I'm coming. We cleared it with them earlier, so I'm not just showing up unannounced. I wouldn't do that to anyone. But we wanted to check in with them. They got their family in Boston calling, asking how they're doing, as we do have a bit of a lull in the wind right now. All right, Gigi, Carl, how are you? That's all right. How you guys doing? How you holding?
Holding up. Actually, the power's been off and on, so we've been lucky to keep it on. How about you over there?
We're doing good. You can tell the wind's starting to pick up.
All right. Yeah, no, it's definitely picked up, and we're gonna hunker down at this point. I mean, we were worried about the wind all along. It's waiting for it to come. The waiting game is the thing.
How's the family in Boston doing?
We're on the phone right now with our kids in Boston, and they're listening to us right now and keeping in touch and hoping for the best for us.
Well, the house looks good so far. I see you sandbagged the garage and everything. Windows doing okay?
We are right now. Everything's looking solid. So I mean, we just hoping it moves faster.
There you go. Hey, go Bruins! Although I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, so I can't really say that.
The Lightning's my second team.
All right, guys, we'll check in with you a little bit. Y'all take care. Have a good one. All right. So that's Carl and Gigi across the street from where we are set up in our live house here to broadcast you these images as we eyewitness this storm together in real time. The coverage there went a limb. So yeah, the road becomes kind of a wind alley here, and no doubt earlier. So this is really interesting. We had drenching rain. Now it's the wind. So this storm is changing before our eyes. Virtually no rain right now. It's all wind. I think I've got Dennis. Dennis, if you're there, I was told you wanted to ask me a couple of questions. Fire away, my friend.
Hey, Paul, it's Jason. Dennis is getting himself ready, but we are looking at that. You're in Bradenton. We've got that western eye wall now beginning to move closer, that northwestern part of the eye wall heading your way. So just a heads up for you, this is where we're likely going to start to see those gusts that could be well over 75 miles per hour. Any kind of an estimate on the winds right now as far as what you think they may have been happening so far? You did start to say you had some power interruptions, at least some sparks flying, so I know they've got to be picking up.
Yeah, the sparks were flying over in this direction. Our own power has flickered on and off. It's held strong, though, I will say so far. And the sound of the wind, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but this is a strong gust we're getting here, and it's switching directions on me. So now it's coming, still coming from the southeast. Okay, all right. Sparking there, right behind me. That's power lines. We've got power lines behind the house. So we want those to hold strong too. But
Yeah,
their power just went out. Gigi and
It's about time for you to get out of there,
Carl,
Paul.
their power just went out.
Yeah, Paul,
All
if you have
right,
sparking
well,
power lines,
listen.
it's probably time for you to get to safety.
All right, well, we'll keep checking in with you guys. And yeah, this is definitely a wind event. You see
Oh, wow.
that? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see it up there.
those power lines right behind the house where Carl and Gigi are, and I believe they did lose power. And that's the concern. I mean, you still, Florida, I don't want to say for the most part, but you know that there are certain areas where you have above ground power lines. That's just the way it is in a lot of older neighborhoods. And so, and of course, the morning after the storm, you have to be careful with where you're walking. But I think what's interesting to me, just witnessing this in real time here, out here, kind of giving you guys a play-by-play as we stand out in this, is that, you know, literally 30 minutes ago, I couldn't see because it was raining so hard. And now it's the wind and the power of the wind and what the wind is doing to the environment around us, from the power lines to debris coming off the roof and the trees and the limbs coming off. That is how we're experiencing the storm right now. I want to get a sense for the power outages, because I know that that's happening as we speak as well. But this is howling wind, and definitely having an impact right now. And it's when you really want to keep a 360 view of what's coming at you. The house here is kind of a shield, a barrier, because at least it blocks whatever's coming this way. But this wind is now whipping around, and it almost changes directions on you real quick if you don't pay attention.
Hey, Paul, it's Dennis. So a quick question for you. So, I mean, the last 2 years, you've been in major hurricanes. You were in Perry. We have another extreme wind warning that just came out. How does what you're experiencing right now, and by the way, you're about 30 miles away from the eye, so the eye probably will pass directly over you. So yet again, It happened with you in Perry. It's going to happen with you here in Bradenton. Overall, the winds that we expect in your area, probably 100 to 115. But right now, how does it compare to what it was like in Perry?
Perry, I would say Dennis was stronger in terms of the gust from what I remember at the height of that storm. But we have more elements around us because of the situation that we're at. I mean, as you know, you've covered storms too. I mean, it's literally like, okay, what is your situation? Our situation is a house, it's a neighborhood, it's trees, it's in the neighborhood setting. The situation in Perry was a hotel, it was almost like a shelter. We were out in it, and it was a wide open landscape. There were trees in the distance. Here, it's dense in the sense that there are different things around us. There's a fence, there are trees, there are signs, there's a lot of stuff that can go flying around. At this moment right now, the winds are not quite as strong as it was in Perry. That was a Cat 4 though, as I recall.
It was. I think you had about 130.
Cat 3?
Yeah, it is. I think you have about 130, yeah. But I bring that up because the extreme wind warning could have winds of 115. And it is certainly possible that you could be seeing that. So my only suggestion to you is watch out for the trees, because I suspect there are going to be some trees going down.
Yeah, there will be, and I'll tell you the other thing too that was different about Perry versus Hurricane Milton is the nightfall. I mean, I'm just hearing this fence that's coming off here. So you can't really see what's coming at you sometimes, whereas in Perry it was right in the middle of the day. You had the advantage of that sight line. These nightfall storms, I know that was a situation with Helene. It's frustrating for everyone because you just don't know what you can't see. But you do know what you guys are telling us, and obviously, for a lot of people, that's the lifeline, is the information.
The worst will be in your area.
I'm seeing glows in the distance.
Yeah, I'm sure. The worst in your area will probably be about 45 minutes, and then it'll last for about an hour. So if you can get a place of safety, maybe where you can show us what's happening while you're safe as that comes up, that would be awesome, because it's definitely going to get worse quick.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we're ready. Whenever you guys want to come to us, we'll be ready for you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Again, Paul Agrone in Bradenton. We also have Mike Paluska. Mike is in Venice, I believe? Sarasota. Mike's in Sarasota. Mike, you're even closer. You're about... Just measured it out here. So it looks, marginal right now, but I think it's going to go downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah, you know what, Paul? Sorry. You know what, Dennis? It has, and it's getting pretty intense where we're at. There's a lot of trees in the backyard of the house, so I've positioned myself in the middle of the street, and nothing big's flying our way, but we're getting some really extreme gusts, and I just looked at the radar map too, and so I guess that southern part's coming in. You can tell that I'm not wearing a jacket because there's really no rain out here, which I think you were mentioning, that southern part's breaking apart and it's weakening, which is good news. We want this thing to fall apart as fast as it can. My photographer, Reed Moeller, is positioned up top, kind of in a bird's nest up there, and I'm just going to give you a lay of the land on where we are. These are some of the things that are concerning us, but we're pretty far away from them. You can see that transformer right there. We have been seeing some unreal explosions behind us, and it's not lightning, it's transformers blowing. Power went out here about 20 minutes ago, and then we'll have Reed Moeller pan to the left, and you can see these trees are whipping. We actually have a giant pine tree in the backyard that we are staying way far away from. Because, woo, that was a good gust. We're positioned ourselves, and you saw that explosion out there. I'm not sure where my photographer's pointing, but you saw that explosion out there by that house, Dennis. And so I think what we're going to start seeing, I know we're not in that extreme wind warning, but this is intense. I wouldn't say it's as intense as we saw when we were in the eye wall of Hurricane Ian, but I think it's going to start to ramp up, maybe 30 minutes or so from now, and then we'll be in it, like you said, for maybe an hour?
Yeah.
Or are we going to get what Paul gets?
No, actually, he'll probably get more than you do, depending on where it is. But I don't know, looking from our perspective, that's coming down. And you got those mobile homes right there. That's obviously a scary thing as well. So, I mean, really, you got to find a place of safety. You're right. You're not going to have to worry about rain. You're one of those people we were talking about. You're going to have a ton of wind, and yet it's probably going to be very little of any rain in.
Yeah, and that's actually, I like not being in the rain because it's really hard to report when you're getting pelted with rain in your eyes. Just saw another explosion back behind Reed. and you saw that explosion out in the distance. And you know, I think when we cover these storms, you know, you expect them to be front loaded on the right side, Dennis. And I'm kind of trying to figure out why it's lopsided this time. And going sort of towards the St. Pete area. Is that from the shear that came down with that cold front?
Yeah, the shear's coming in from the southwest, and what happens? Whoa, yep. Yeah, you can see that gust there. Yeah, it is lopsided. All of the wind, all of the rain is on the north side, and storms have a tendency to draw toward that where that strength is. So that's why it was lifting a little more north at first. But last check, it's actually kind of kicking back to the east. So it's wobbles. I mean, you know that. You've been covering these a long time. You know how wobbles are pretty much unpredictable.
Yeah, they are. And you know, one of the things that concerns me the most is we were out on Lido, and now we're getting even more storm surge here. And that's super concerning. I mean, you know, there's all these people that didn't evacuate, so my heart is breaking for anyone that's still there. Obviously, we've been covering Helene. I'll just see where this is going. I think we're still good out here for now. I don't think these are hurricane force gusts, but we're getting pretty close to high-end tropical storm force winds. I'm going to kick it over to these trees and have Reeves zoom in on that backside. Those guys are really bending. We've got trees down around this neighborhood that we're in Sarasota. We're close to downtown Sarasota. We're about a mile from Sarasota High. My coworker Julie Salamone is super close to where we are as well, her Airbnb. And you know, I think where we're positioned here, I think we should be able to ride this out and give you guys coverage to see what's going to be coming up through Tampa. That's the most important thing, you know. I know people think we're crazy when we stand out here, but you know, you wouldn't ask a fireman not to run into a burning building. So sometimes our job requires us to be out working. There went another explosion behind me. Power's going to be out for a while here, I think. I mean, this area, as you know, is so inundated with pine trees, and we've seen them just falling on lines, on lines, on lines, and exploding. Huge explosions, like booms of big branches that are hitting our house. It's brand new, just built, block construction, second floor, and we really, I was worried a little bit about localized street flooding. I'm really not anymore. We're hardly getting any flooding in the street, and as you mentioned, we're not going to be the ones getting the rain. So yeah, it's really coming in now, Dennis, and I think there's one more really big gust here. I'm just going to check down the street. You know, it's actually, I have a clear line of sight to my left and my right, and I've got my field producer, Sean Daly, watching as well. We do want to be safe. I got 3 kids at home, and one is a month old. And so when it starts to get bad, we're going to go in. Mostly leaves now, Dennis. Mostly just leaves. These streets are holding up pretty good. So yeah, this is a good spot, and these power lines look like they're pretty stable as well. That transformer we thought might explode, but I think since the power exploded behind us a couple of times, this one's not energized anymore.
Hey Mike, how far are you from the water?
You know?
How far are you from the water?
We are, as the crow flies, Dennis, we're 1 mile from Sarasota Bay in evacuation zone E.
Okay.
So we're really close to the water, and we were in Lido Beach yesterday, and we interviewed a guy. He has a frame house. He's lived there 34 years. He was boarding it up. He said he didn't get really much water from Helene because he's elevated a little bit. I said, hey man, how are you doing? He said, look, I'm going to say goodbye to my house, and I hope it's here when I get back. And I know you know surge is hard to predict, even though they're spot on with Helene. So I'm just praying that surge, that worst case scenario, as this thing falls apart, doesn't come in. Because I know right now where we are, we got that onshore flow. And Tampa's got that offshore flow until it kind of wraps around. The winds have been coming out from the east, Dennis. And you know, as they go counterclockwise, they're just going to wrap around this area. And then we're going to hit another spot so we can duck in and have cover. We got a really good spot here, elevated. So that's really good. I think the thing is, tomorrow when we wake up in the morning, we're going to be looking at a lot different Tampa Bay area, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, a lot of trees. I mean, I think it's twofold. After Helene, we are going to get even more. I think the surge will be similar in the Bay than it was with Helene in the southern part. But for you, you're a mile in, and E, you said that's okay. But yeah, I'm afraid you're right. Sarasota, all the way up from Sarasota down to Siesta Key, I think they're going to see a 10 to 12 foot surge. And I don't think there's any way around it. So stay safe out there, Mike. We'll come back to you shortly as the winds start to pick up, and that will be rather shortly. Again, thanks. That's Mike Beluska over in Sarasota. We're going to go to Seminole, I believe. Robert Boyd is live in Seminole right now, and Seminole is an area that is actually under that extreme wind warning. So, Robert, it looks like you're okay right now, but I would expect that to go downhill pretty quickly.
Dennis, everything you've mentioned the last hour has come true right here full life for me and the crew in Seminole. Randy Wright and Kylie, given Right now, the wind has picked up tremendously. It is really blowing. You look at these trees behind me. They are swaying back and forth. The stop signs rattling. I feel pretty safe though because the property, the Airbnb that we're staying in, doesn't have any large trees in the yard or anything, and I haven't seen much debris floating around. So that's good news. But the wind is really picking up. Extreme wind, as you mentioned. And as soon as you mentioned it about an hour ago, that's when we saw it happen. Then you guys mentioned the power outages. And sure enough, you mentioned be careful, charge your phones, the power will go out. Sure enough, about 10 minutes after you said that, right here in Seminole, we lost power at our Airbnb. And then the third big thing that has been mentioned in the studio throughout the night is that once it gets to a certain point, too much danger for our first responders to go out, they won't go out, and that's what's happened right here in Seminole. No longer going out. If anybody has a medical emergency, unfortunately, they're going to have to fend for themselves. Police, fire, they are sheltering in place now. They're not coming out here to help people. So really, you got to be careful. If you decide not to evacuate, you really took matters into your own hands. But I do want to say this particular neighborhood here in the Seminole area, there was an evacuation order. So again, we feel safe about that. A lot of people taking precautions. We drove around here earlier today. We saw a lot of people boarding up their windows. I would say at least 50 to 60% of people in this neighborhood had storm shutters, boarded up their windows. They did everything they could. Wow, that was a pretty large wind gust that just came through. And I'm looking, but again, the good news is I don't see a lot of debris flying around, so I feel pretty safe about that. But the wind is definitely picked up, Dennis. And I'm just wondering, from your standpoint, how many more gusts are we going to see? How long is this going to last?
All right, Robert, thank you. It looks like the wind is definitely picking up, and from what Dennis said, it'll continue to. So stay safe out there. We'll check back in with you in just a bit. And we want to stay in our southern counties, and we move now to Sarasota.
Sarasota County, or are we going to Adam?
Oh, we're going, I'm sorry, yes, Hillsborough County.
Yeah, Adam Welser, he's in the Hyde Park area. Adam, this is one of the first times we've actually checked in with you. What's it like in the Hyde Park area?
Well, the Hyde Park area is pretty much a ghost town. Normally this time of night it would be hopping with all the restaurants, all the businesses here, but right now it's a ghost town pretty much. We're staying at a small hotel called the Pally House Hotel. It's filled with people, actually a lot of them who lost their homes or had significant damage from Hurricane Helene. They've been staying here for the last week and a half or so since they moved out to get to repair. So they're seeking refuge, and a few other people who I talked to who live down the hill. We're at High Point here in High Point, but a few of the people who live closer to the bay in those houses that are maybe 100 years old, they also came to this hotel to seek refuge because of that fear of that storm surge. We don't know exactly what we're going to see there, but we have seen a significant amount of rain. We've seen the rain come down constantly. We've seen some squalls, really heavy winds and heavy sections of rain. As we drove around throughout South Tampa today, we saw there's still those piles of debris. So of course, with all the heavy wind moving that stuff into the roadways and all the rain, it should cause some flooding in this area. But right now, it's we haven't seen the worst of it yet. We're just seeing occasional rain. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Adam. We want to go back now to our southern counties because they are truly experiencing the most right now.
That's right, and Paul LeGrone is out in Bradenton. And Paul, last time we saw you, you were having power outages around you. Power lines were down. What's it like now?
Power is out. Power is out in this neighborhood. We have a generator, so we're able to continue to broadcast live to you. But yeah, the neighborhood is in the dark right now. These lights you're seeing are from us and our generator. We saw the wind has been consistently strong. This is nothing compared to what it was literally 5 seconds ago. So any moment now we can see a huge gust come in. It is all wind and hardly any rain. We're in Bradenton, a few miles south of the Manatee River. Okay, I want to go this way. Yeah, all right. So yeah, just showing you around as far as the lights will take me. You see those trees whipping in the background, and that's our primary indicator of how strong these winds are. And again, literally at any second, we could get another punch here of wind. We're surrounded by water in the sense the Manatee River is to our north, and the Intercoastal is to our west. Heavy, heavy rainfall for hours until about 45 minutes ago, and it switched to all wind. I'm just shielding my eyes because I want to make sure that nothing's coming off of that roof. About 20 minutes ago, we saw several explosions and sparks. The power lines basically lit up, went out, and that's when the power on this block basically went out for everyone. Our friends over there, Carl and Gigi, they might be watching us if they have a generator, but I don't think they are. We talked to them live on the air when you guys last came to us. It's almost like the rain is being sprayed above us, and it's all wind. We are starting to get a little bit more rain right now, but mostly this is a wind event at this moment here. Of course, the storm surge is a different story because we already know that the Manatee River is flooding, and the streets near and along the Manatee River are underwater right now. We knew that before the sun went down. The police department here in Bradenton put that information out. And of course, the storm surge is the story that we're going to have to continue to monitor. Wind damage, I will say so far, we haven't seen anything, even though the wind has been strong. So far, these trees have held up, and so far, these homes have not seen it. I have not seen anything come off the homes or hit anything. The signs have remained intact. So despite the strong wind, even though we see some things waving in the wind, so far so good in that regard. But yes, now you're riding out a hurricane without power in the dark in Bradenton, as so many others are throughout the greater Tampa Bay region as Milton makes landfall here. I will say this, you know, we did see somebody ride their motorbike right through the street here right after our last live shot with no helmet or cover on. So you could say, that, well, Paul, you're doing the same thing. You're out in a hurricane. And okay, maybe you got a point. But I just don't want to see anyone. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. Obviously, you know, I want everyone to make it through this thing. So as I come back your way, you know, I think right now people are hunkered down to where they're going to be to ride this thing out. I think what's interesting is how it went from being, you know, rain to now wind. Although we are starting to see just a bit of a break with the wind right now. Of course, as I send it back to you, as soon as you guys go to somebody else, we'll have this huge gust of wind. That's how it always works. And the power of Milton is real, which is why people are taking it seriously. Man, okay, that's a strong gust. The rain is starting to come down, and the wind is whipping wildly right now. You know, the one thing you don't have to worry about, I guess, is the power's already out, so you're not going to have an explosion of sparks or fire from the power lines, because that's already been taken care of by Milton.
Paul,
what you could have is flying debris. So
I don't know, Paul.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm wondering, is this the strongest gust you've gotten so far? Because it looks like the eye is just uncomfortably close.
Yeah, you know, Wendy, it's so unpredictable. And when we say gusts, I liken it to, I mean, I hate to be violent, but you know, just, I liken it to a punch. I mean, it's the best way I can describe it, because that's how long it lasts. It's literally like that. Okay, wow. And then it goes away, and then it might come back again. So, you know, having experience covering Adalia Live in the daytime, you know, and I almost got knocked over on live TV. I grabbed onto a bench just in time before I almost bit it on live television because the wind moved me. I think I admitted my weight at the time was 170 pounds. I may have been fudging the numbers on that a little bit. And in the years since, I think I've added a few pounds. So the wind has not moved me in that way yet. I do have the advantage of this house blocking the wind, and it's coming from the southeast. That hasn't switched direction quite yet. When it whips back the other way, the wind is going to be blowing toward us, toward the house in this direction. Right now, it's still coming off the roof and blowing whatever it will over the roof line here. So this is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, the wind is real. And the rain. I mean, now the rain is starting to pick back up. So now you've got the double whammy of wind and rain. And I can only imagine what that means for the storm surge along the Manatee River in the mouth of Tampa Bay.
All right, well, we will certainly check back in with you in just a bit as the winds continue to pick up. I know landfall, I believe, is between 8:30 and 10, so we're just about an hour into those most intense winds as the eye of the wall continues to move closer to the coast.
And truly, you have to feel for the people who are there right now without power, because this is the scary point that we've been talking about, to hear all those winds. And I mean, take the rain out of the picture. It's
For sure.
The winds when you
Yeah, and that whistling that they talk about so much.
Yeah. So Pinellas County, we know within the last 30 minutes, they were put into basically a shelter-in-place warning. So we want to now move to a report in Pinellas County.
That's right, and our Eric Waxler is standing by in downtown St. Pete with the latest out there. Eric?
Yeah, Wendy, we are feeling it here in downtown St. Pete for work sure. Major wind gusts ripping through here. We got the warning about an hour ago of wind gusts at 50 miles an hour. I think we've definitely topped that now. And take a look. First of all, let me tell you that I feel very fortunate. We are undercover on the third floor balcony here at this hotel on Central Avenue. It's the True by Hilton. And so we are thankful, as are many people here that are sheltering here, to be in a place, it's a 7-story building. And so we are here and we are not out in the elements, thankfully, thanks to a little covering, although we can definitely feel it and give you the vantage point from here. And you see down at Central Avenue, you see the trees blowing, you see sheets of wind, sheets of rain just coming down 17th Street there, and just such force up against these buildings. And we definitely have some viewers in some of these apartments. We can see those folks there that we've been following for several hours now with the Jack Skellington decoration there on their balcony. They've got the light so we can see that Jack is still there. They've left him hanging up, and they're watching ABC Action News coverage. And I can look through some of the windows and I see coverage, and we see people waving at us through here because everybody is just home making the best of this situation. Boy, look down 17th Street right now again as we see the force of these gusts. And something that's happened here as expected within the last hour is that they have shut off water for most of St. Petersburg. They had put that out earlier, that because the sewer treatment centers would need to be shut down because of the potential storm surge again. And so you can't use your plumbing. That includes toilets. You can't operate with that surge. So it could take more than 24 hours to restore, depending on how bad things get here. And listen, some of these neighborhoods, whoa, that was a big sheet of wind. And kudos to photographer, videographer Jason Richards here, who is standing tall as this wind just comes through this balcony that we're on. But Northeast St. Pete, Shore Acres, all of you hopefully have gotten out of those areas, because listen, they flooded so badly during Helene, so we can only imagine what might happen this time. And we reported this earlier in the day, but it's something to bring up again because of the threat of looting. So many neighborhoods that have been evacuated. If you hadn't heard, earlier today, somebody was arrested by St. Petersburg police for actually trying to burglarize a home in Shore Acres. And so, everyone evacuated there, and then somebody tried to steal, and they were arrested. As we look over the balcony here onto 17th Street, and you see the force of the wind, and we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. This is, and the other thing that we've been thinking all along, with all of the debris from Helene, all that debris in so many people's front yards that hasn't been picked up yet. Thankfully, we haven't seen any of that flying around, because that has been a major concern for so many people. What would happen with that, with these heavy winds coming through there? We are seeing it, we are feeling it, and we are hearing it, hearing the roar of the winds here in downtown St. Petersburg. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I can see the wind picking up again. Thank you, Eric. We'll check back with you in just a little bit. We now want to go to Tampa. That's where our Scripps reporter, Jenna Ray, joins us live from Ybor City.
Yeah, Jenna, how are the conditions there in Ybor City right now?
It's wet, and it's been wet like this for a few hours now. We saw the rain pick up, I would say, within the last hour or so. You can see this rain coming down. Take a look behind me. I'll step out so you can really see what's going on. We've got this whipping rain that's almost going sideways because the wind has really ramped up over the last several hours. You can see those trees whipping in the wind as well. So just so you guys know, we're stationed here at a hotel in Ybor City. We're at 7th and 14th. This hotel is almost nearly full. So there's a lot of people who are staying here, a lot of people from out of town, and a lot of people actually from the Tampa area who lived closer to the shore, who are now coming a little bit further inland to ride out this hurricane. Now it's ramped up here. We're not seeing flooding. We still have power. I know some other reporters have mentioned that they're already seeing places without plumbing and without power, but we still have power over in Ybor City. And right now, all we're really experiencing is that heavy rain and the whipping wind. It's been an issue for a lot of people here. We haven't seen many people outside. We saw a couple people trying to brace the forces a few hours ago, but I think everyone has really wrapped things up and they're trying to stay inside. Now, something that we've seen in this area specifically is a lot of people trying to put their cars in shelters. So that's a parking garage, anywhere that's not just sitting on the street. We had a hard time finding parking earlier today. That parking structure that you can see behind me a couple blocks down, completely full. We spent several minutes trying to find parking earlier today. Almost every single parking space in that lot has been full. There's another one a couple blocks from where I'm standing too. We're told that one too is full, but for now we have power. What we're dealing with here, obviously, as you can see, is this rain. It feels like it's intensifying a little bit more, and we're anticipating that to come in the next few hours too.
All right, thank you. We'll check back with you in just a bit. And we turn now to downtown Sarasota, where our Chad Mills has been feeling the high winds and the heavy rain from Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, our Sarasota and Manatee County reporters really are. Chad, what is it like?
Okay, so, oh wait, hold on, let me turn around. Okay, so now I'm just gonna hang some pictures because we're just waiting for this hurricane to get here. And this is just what we're doing. So I'm just gonna do some renovation. And I have some friends that are gonna help me put some pictures up over there. Oh, so you guys, yeah, comment and see what, you know, see to, you know, how you, oh, let me clean this camera. See how you want us to hang them. Okay, so, I mean, I guess everyone over there on the wall, and then you hold the pictures up, and I just see how, like, to arrange them. Well, those will go that way, yeah.
Do you have these? Do you have a level?
No.
I really like those, Matthew. A lot.
They're really nice, right?
Yeah.
Are these from your mom?
Yeah, my mom did those. So I guess, yeah, you just tell me where to put the nail.
So you want it where it's perfectly in line with this thing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Bring it a little closer together.
Yeah, I think closer together. Perfectly aligned. This is my friend Allie.
Hey, I'm Allie. I've been on here before.
I mean, they could be kind of just random, then you don't have to be worried about.
What are you reading?
Get them straight. Just
Oh,
do them random.
interesting. That's good.
Right now. What am I reading right now? I'm listening to Ross's book.
I kind of like that.
The ones that
Oh,
were
I feel like that too, yeah.
You want them straight or you want
Wait,
them
and then put them like that. Yeah, straight.
You put them.
No, I
Can
would
you
say
tell chat to put it in the chat what they want us to do?
put in the chat we want them to do. I think it should be go option A, which is higher one, middle one up higher. Option A. But the other two even, Matt. Yeah, I like that personally.
I don't like that. I don't like those even. I think they need to be different.
Option B or option C where they're all the same.
They're all the same. Maybe this one all the same because those are going to be random over there. We'll put these on.
I kind of like that, yeah, now that I see that.
I like all the same.
Yeah.
Done. Okay, so what do we put the one in the middle first?
Yeah.
Alright. Where do we want it?
And then these over here you can just do random along the thing.
I think we did a little nappy.
Another one?
Yeah. All day.
It's so peaceful.
I like this lighting up before in school. These are cool. People are saying.
Oh yeah.
What are people telling you?
Let's see.
Oh shit. You're making more perfect.
They're making cookies over there.
Why?
Handorvo as vi vs Tiscola. I'm not sure what that means, but I think it means all the same level.
I would go with that ultimately, yeah. Are you showing your doggies?
What?
Are you showing your dog? I really
No.
like this. I really like the piece you have here, Matt.
Which one?
But no, not. I didn't like this. I like where it is. Bookshelf thing. It's really cool. This. What you're on right now.
What?
This piece. Right in front of you.
The wood?
No, this one right here.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful, yeah.
It's from that place over there, like on Lake Ivanhoe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So cool. The one with the bar, right? Or you said bar?
Right. Yeah. What's it called?
Sure,
Wood from
someplace.
Reserve or something?
Imperial? What? Imperial.
Oh shit, that's way higher.
Good enough. Honestly, this looks fun.
Do you have a level? I don't have a level. But there's one on the iPhone.
Do you have a tape measure?
No, there's one on the iPhone.
Do you have a tape measure?
No. We'll just put it a little lower, I guess.
Is this mirror for Kitty to check herself out? Oh, it's so she can watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
There's a little mirror right here for Kitty. Kitty can watch if she wants to hug her little goat thing.
Oh yeah. She doesn't have it here today. This is like really off. It's like way over a couple inches.
Yeah.
Allie, you're supposed to tell her to put it.
What the fuck, Allie?
I was not saying anything.
Did she say I wasn't gonna say anything?
I didn't know my job.
Yeah.
I'm like pretty tired of a long day.
Alright, we gotta get you upstairs for the party.
It's fun of those talk.
People are like, what are you boarding up his windows?
Allie's Botox bill today was bigger than mine.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have to get a lot of work. You don't think I look like that?
I think you can actually go over a little bit more so it can be.
You know what I'm telling you?
Yeah, this one, I think that one.
I'm gonna just scoot it.
Why don't you just scoot your dresser over a little bit?
That's a better idea.
What if you scoot this over this way?
No.
Well, the mirror is.
This thing is like 400 pounds. You don't even want to fucking touch it. I'm telling you.
I mean, I just figured if you did it in line with that.
No, I'm just moving it over.
Is that the order that you read the books in?
No, it's
Exactly.
Hey, actually, I got this book for you.
For me?
Yeah.
The male nude? But you're not done with it yet. You're on page 2.
You like the photo?
Oh my god, I love this. Wait, okay, I'm gonna find the closest to all my exes and I'll show you too. Oh my god, wow.
Is it all penises?
Yeah, Sharon, look at this.
Wow. It's creative.
Really creative.
It's like, what can I put my dick on to take it out?
I wonder if I should start this chat over because it's loud.